Here we have a pre-owned 2011 Mercedes-Benz ML 350 4MATIC. Now this one comes in white, and then we have the cashmere MB-Tex interior. And the powertrain consists of a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6 engine, made it to a 7-speed automatic transmission. And we get 268 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque with that engine. And then this one has just a little over 93,000 miles. But as we get to the front end here, love the styling even for a 2011. In today's market, we don't have any HIDs, but the headlights just look fantastic. We get those halogen headlamps, halogen fog lights. Kind of reminds me of the Lexus GX in a sense, around this same time frame, but a great look in my opinion. And the paint seems to have held up very nicely. And down here, we have these 19-inch aluminum wheels. And then we have our fixed running boards there. We do have our power door lock controls here. Love the wood grain finish here. Just a little bit of cracking throughout, but the door panel is also, this cashmere is just a great color in my opinion, looks good. But we do have one-touch automatic up and down windows on all 4 doors, rear window locks here, and then power mirror controls left side, right side, then we can use the dial. And then we also can power fold those mirrors as well. And on top of that, we do have a power lift gate, which we can control, open and shut from the front. Have a little bit of wear here around the trim for the headlamp controls. So that's on, corners, auto, and then off. Then we can pull for the fog lights. And then we do have a pedal foot brake, so push that in there and then to release it, pull up there. And sorry if the wind's getting in the speaker, but we can also power tilt telescope our steering wheel. And there's our power driver's seat with power lumbar support. And then to set your memory seat, just hit that. Hold the one you want to set it to and it'll beep at you. But pretty adjustable seat, and honestly the MB-Tex has held up pretty nicely for it to be 12, 13 years old. But I have that seat up front adjusted for someone of my size, being 6'3" with longer legs. So we're gonna check out the rear space here. If I can fit. So it's kind of a step, it's an awkward step up, but not terrible, especially with how the back of the seat's made. It's kind of like a nice little spot for my knees. Now, obviously I wouldn't want to be sitting here like this, but it makes it a little more doable if I need to take a short trip or something. And then we do have the netted seat back pockets on both sides. Rear AC vents are here. 12 volt down there, and several storage pockets. You can put loose change or something there. But middle seat folds down, and then you can make that into 3 small bottle holders. So I like how they did that. Then grab handle here. We could probably hang 2 plastic hooks if we need to, otherwise 3 metal hooks will fit up there, no problem. But let's go ahead and make our way towards the back. What's great about these vehicles is you do have off-road capability, having that 4MATIC all-wheel drive system. But there's a look at the back. You do get that dual exhaust. And big shout out to Auto Collection of Murfreesboro for allowing me to review this ML 350 today. I'll leave a link below to it, as well as their entire exotic car luxury vehicle inventory in the description. But tons of space behind that second row. I do like that we have a 12 volt here, and then we have a 115 2-prong right here. And then behind here, you can keep your first aid kit and lock that back up pretty easily. And then lift this up here, and there's your spare tire. And this one even has jacks as well. Or not jacks, but power cables if you need to jump your vehicle off or jump off someone else's. But what really surprised me is that power lift gate is still in pretty good working shape. It's just a little loud. Fuel caps here. And then back to the rear passenger side. You can fold the seats down a little bit. They won't fold flat unless you pull this up here, and then you have that additional space. You just gotta lift that up. Do it in reverse, you're good to go. Just that seatbelt's out the way. But to the front passenger side, not nearly as much adjustability as you get on that driver's side, but you still get the power seat back, power seat bottom, just no memory seat, and then no power lumbar support. But I love how they put the netted pocket here. For 2011, that's pretty cool. And then lockable glove compartment here. All the owner's manuals are still in this one. And then this is for your media interface if you want to run that. And you can run your iPod and all that through that. But again, like the styling overall, especially in today's market. I mean, you can get something that looks pretty nice for pretty good price. But next I'm gonna go ahead and pop the hood. And it's mostly covered up there, but there's that 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6. But now let's hop in the driver's seat. So to start with, leather wrap steering wheel actually seems to be in pretty good shape. And it's kind of got that skinny feel to it, which I like it on this kind of vehicle. It makes it easier to steer. And again, the leather just seems to have held up for the most part, just a few blemishes here and there. But over to the radio here, we do get AM, FM, and then satellite radio. And I like that we can do everything through here. So I can go, there's a CD player there. You can toggle your discs there. And then you even have memory card. And then a media interface like I showed you earlier. And then you have an aux input as well. But it's just easier to use as opposed to the knob that you have in the newer Mercedes-Benz. But both of them are all right. And I like this because I can just type an address in or go from memory, last destinations, points of interest, or I could just use the map. And then I could tell it, hey, give me a destination right here. And it's like, okay, you want to go here, go ahead. So it's pretty cool to do that, to be able to do that. And then I can also back out of it as well. And having that back button is nice to have too. But you do get Bluetooth phone compatibility, no audio, but you can make your calls and all that. And then you can use video as well. Now your system settings are right in here. You can change your language if you want to do that. And then your other settings too. So again, it's a pretty neat system and I like being able to use that. But it's also cool to be able to, like, your shortcuts for time is right there. You can set that. And then you also have a mute button here, and then your shortcuts for the CD drive, the phone, the navigation, and the radio. So nice to have all that there. And then this is your volume knob. You can click this to power the system down, then click it again and turn it back on. So I didn't mean to hit that hard. But these buttons tend to feel a little wonky, a little cheap. You can see it's already shaking there, but still works, so that's all we can hope for. I do like that we get a backup camera and pretty decent picture again for 2011. But down here we have our dual zone automatic climate control, so I can adjust temperature on either side, and that red indicator will show me as I get closer to high or low. And then auto mode toggle there, and turn that off. Just adjust the fan speed. You can control fan direction here, and then the circulation there, defrosters here, and again fan speed there. And then you can do the same thing for the front passenger in terms of temperature, and then you can cut the rear AC on and off there. And we do get 3-stage heated seats for the driver, front passenger, and then we can turn off the ESP there, hazards here, and then this is our downhill speed regulator, and then this is our off-road mode, and we can toggle both of those there. A Little storage pocket here. Cigarette lighter, an ashtray there. And again, I love the wood grain throughout. 2 cup holders here. Center console cubby spaces here. And then you can use these buttons. It's kind of like a roadside assistance. So I think that's roadside, and if you need information, you can click that. And then you have your garage door transmitter in the mirror there. SOS. And then we also have our dome lights here. Now the sunroof control, I can tell this has been used a little bit because it's not working properly. Looks like it's broken off a little bit, but that will tilt or slide. It's hard to get it back to where it needs to be completely shut. You know, and I'll just do it. So there's a slide there. Love that it goes pretty far back. And there's the tilt there. There's a view of the back seat. And the vanity mirror here. There's the light. And then back to the steering wheel. So this is our cruise control there. And it'll show you when we get up to speed, kind of what speed it's set to. And then over here we have our windshield wiper control. So this is for the rear wiper. That's on, off. And then either way there's rear wiper fluid, and then front wiper fluid is there. And then we can control the front wipers there, intermittent, low, high. And then high beams are there when the lights are on. So you'll see that there. And then we can flash here. And then we do have, this is weird. So you go through your gauge cluster settings one way or the other here. So there's that. Turn these windshield wipers off real quick. So you can scroll through all of that, and then when you go through your sub menus, if it has a sub menu, it'll let you go ahead and use this. But you have your tire pressure sensors there, and this is kind of your main setting here. We have the odometer, the trip meter. It'll tell you when you need to service, speed. So I like that. But then like in the Bluetooth mode, you can't do anything. Here you kind of have your range, and then your fuel economy. Again, interesting. And then here, if you want to set your downhill speed regulator to a certain speed, you have to have it here and then use the indicators here. So plus, minus, and then that's how you adjust your downhill speed there. So it's weird that you can only go between 4 and 10, but you have to use these on the right here instead of using these like you would think. But then if you go to the radio, which again, it doesn't really make a lot of sense trying to find this stuff, in my opinion. But there's a way you can get to the radio if I can figure that out. And then you use this to go through the track list. So again, it's weird. But Bluetooth controls on the side here, voice recognition, and then to turn the voice recognition off, you use over there. And there's the horn. But paddle shifters behind the steering wheel again. Pull this lever, drive, pull all the way up for reverse, then you can tap down for neutral, press P for park. And then there is our key fob there. It's a turn key, but then unlock, lock, and then that's for the power lift gate. But now let's go ahead and take this 2011 Mercedes-Benz ML 350 4MATIC out on the road for a quick test drive. So starting the test drive in this ML 350, again, the controls for this car are just very interesting. They remind me of how Mercedes got their reputation for being complicated vehicles to operate. And what I didn't mention was the CD, when the CD player's on here, you can only adjust your discs using this and only adjust the CDs. But when you're in the radio setting, then you can use this to go through your presets and all that. It's a strange system, but whatever. But overall, in terms of how this car drives, even with 93,000 miles, I was expecting something to be noticeably off, but that's not the case here. Now, the 3.5 liter V6, I like that engine from Mercedes for the most part, and those are the ones you tend to see with like 130, 140,000 miles. before you have to do anything crazy with them. And the electronics also weren't as prone to trouble as some of the older Mercedes ones were. This one here, like in the older, like 02, 03 SL 500s, that'll cost you a pretty penny having to replace this radio here, but everything seems to be working on here pretty good. You have a little bit of fading on that inside of the screen there, which that tends to happen on these Mercedes radios, but other than that, everything is still working perfectly. The buttons are working, knobs are working. So I'm actually pretty impressed by that, again, with this being a 2011 Mercedes-Benz. But ride quality has been pretty good going down this rough patch of road here, which I've taken probably a million times. Just very good ride quality. And with the V6, the all-wheel drive system does a great job at keeping you up to speed without necessarily throwing you one way or the other based on rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. But I have the cruise on now. So we can resume there, cancel there, and then just set it whenever. But I'm gonna give it a little bit of throttle here. Well, I'm gonna give it a lot of throttle actually, as we get on the interstate. And I'll kind of give you my impressions on how it accelerates under hard acceleration. So quite impressive. Now what's great is the 7-speed, it was good to go without using the paddle shifters. It went from about 3,000 RPMs all the way up to that red line, and I was able to get that full brunt of the engine to get me up to speed. But ride quality is pretty, again, it's pretty nice coming down the interstate here. Probably a 9 out of 10 for me. What makes it great is I'm not feeling anything through the pedals. I'm not feeling anything through the steering wheel for the most part. Just a little bit of the road there, but normal. And then the seats are, so even though this is the MB-Tex, pretty fantastic feel through the driver's seat here. And then you can just go into manual mode whenever, and then just hold the plus paddle to go back into automatic. I will say, having the, and I've complained about this from Mercedes for a couple years, just having the knobs here, the cruise control up here, and then the blinker all the way down here is kind of a nuisance, but something I'm sure if this is your main driver, you'll get used to, but just gets on my nerves. Now I'm gonna put the paddle shifters on here just to see how it does in city driving. Just if for whatever reason you wanna control the shift points yourself. But I love how it shifts because they're not snappy, but they're just very smooth. It's just, this feels like a flagship Mercedes-Benz SUV, just for 2011, how everything is. Now, of course, we're used to the GLSs, we're used to the G-Wagons now, like that's kind of your pinnacle of luxury. But this was just, it really was a great SUV. And you see a lot of these with miles on them. And having that naturally aspirated V6 mated with the 7-speed, the reliability was a lot better than what people were used to from Mercedes back then. Now you do have a few kind of quality control issues there, mainly around that, I don't know what that is, around that headlight control there, but I mean, everything else, for this to have almost 94,000 miles, everything's working perfectly. And that's surprising. Now, one thing I did not mention earlier that I just found out trying to adjust the seat, you actually have a power headrest. So pulling up on the seat back, button. Now you can lean the seat back and forth, but if you push up and down on it, that controls the headrest. Whereas in the newer Mercedes, you have your own button for the power headrest. So that's pretty neat to have that as well. And again, just a very luxurious SUV that you can get pretty cheaply. And it shouldn't be hard to keep this one up and running. And again, for the price, Auto Collection of Murfreesboro has it priced pretty competitively, but I'll leave a link below to the vehicle in the description below if you're interested, just for your own curiosity. But a great SUV on the used car market, in my opinion. And this will bring me to the end of my review of this 2011 Mercedes-Benz ML 350 4MATIC.